Hi, welcome back to Book Review News. I'm Caitlin Downs, and I will be your reviewer today. And today, we will be reviewing The Revival by Stephen King. Right off the bat, I can tell you it's gonna be good because, well, it's Stephen King, though you can't judge a book by its cover. Stephen King is one of my personal favorite writers. He is a well-written horror storyteller that tells great tales on and off the book. Off the book, his movies are just purely amazing. From Carrie to Christine to Cujo and the new movie It, because it is awesome. But that's enough about the writer. Let's get to the actual book. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. Our minister, Charles Jacobs, he comes to a new town, but he loses his wife and son in a car accident. This makes him lose his faith, get kicked out of town, get his faith back, but only as a supernatural healer that uses electricity as his power. Meanwhile, a young Jamie Morton is becoming a musician and struggling with a heroin addiction. Jamie meets Charles. Charles cures him and Jamie is happy. But Jamie experiences weird side effects and he wonders if other cured patients have these, and they do. Jamie then gets his childhood crush cured of cancer. Charles gets a mentally ill woman to be his last patient to test out secret electricity. He plans to have her die, bring her back only mentally, so she could tell him of what awaits everyone in the afterlife. You probably already guessed it though, it goes wrong. Mary Faye tells Charles and Jamie that the afterlife is actually a terrible place full of chaos, and everyone goes insane. An otherworldly power, Mother, embodies Mary in this and turns her into a hideous monster. Jamie shoots her, Charles has a stroke, and then Jamie places the bodies to look like it was just a regular crime scene. To end this, Jamie takes a nice trip to Hawaii to put it all in the past. The story then takes a yet another dark turn and tells of all the patients that Jacobs has had, including Jamie, and they all die and go to the afterlife that is terrible. But this story is just a tale of life. How life is so delicate and fragile and is a mess with its sheer deadliness. Basically, I'll sum it up with my favorite excerpt by Jamie. But who is screenwriting our lives? Fate or coincidence? I want you to believe it's the latter. I want with all my heart and soul, when I think of Charles Jacobs, my fifth business, my change agent, my nemesis, I can't bear to believe his presence in my life had anything to do with fate. It would mean that all these terrible things, these horrors, were meant to happen. If that is so, then there is no such thing as light, and our belief in it is a foolish illusion. If that is so, we live in darkness like animals in a burrow, or ants deep in their hill, and not alone. Now let's have a look at those wonderful characters. So we have three main ones: Charles Jacobs, Jamie Morton, and Mary Faye, who sadly becomes Mother. These are all complex parts to the book. They have vital roles and they make the story what it is. And you can see them change throughout the book. You can see Charles go from a loving husband and minister to a mad scientist. You can see Jamie turn from a musician and struggling drug addict to a heroic person who just, wants to go Hawaii. And then we have Mary Faye, a little old lady who wants to live her life but then becomes this monster and dies. That's so bad for her. But other than that, these roles are so important to the book. They have depth and they have development, and that's what I love to see these characters do throughout the book. Overall, this book was amazing, wonderful, and great. It was a complex story with a roller coaster of events. It was well written, easy to comprehend, and quite the page turner. I'll be honest, I don't like reading very much at all, but I occasionally found myself not being able to put this book down, and it had me on the edge of my seat by the end of each chapter. The only downside, though, which is weird for Stephen King because he usually doesn't have any downsides, was that he tried to fit in many cliffhangers as possible, and he could have been a little more detailed in the big events. Other than that, I would rate this book an obvious 10 out of 10. I would also highly recommend it to my fellow peers. Alright folks, that's all I have for you today with book review news. I'm Caitlin Downs, and stay reading.